Good afternoon. Today is the 16th of November and it's time for yet another slightly shambolic shuffle around the bi-monthly Heath Classic Car Club gathering here at Heath Shopping Centre near Southampton. I do apologise in advance if I get things wrong, if there's any wind noise, if I fall over. I'm afraid just the way that it goes on this channel. So as is traditional in these shambolic shuffles at Heath, we're going to start with the mini pickup from 1982. This pickup is at every single event at Heath and many other local shows as well. It is in a constant state of repair, like the Forth Bridge. The person who owns it tries his best to keep on top of the rust, which of course on these minis is a big enemy. The next area of attention will be down here. The sort of pickup body isn't on the back at the moment, it's just got this sort of cover. And no doubt we will see it again very shortly. One of the last of the mini pickups, they were replaced actually in 1982 by the Metro van. 92-93, Neon by Mini, which is an interesting way of calling the trim level. Very late single point, very early single point injection, I think, or it's a very late cat model, I forget now, but it has a cat, it's one of the first to have one, which would have been compulsory from January 1993. By contrast, here is a much earlier mini, about 10 years earlier actually. It's a very early Mayfair. As I said before, in the 1990s, one of my friend's mothers had an identical car to this. I think it was an A or B plate in black, and Mayfair with the same interior. The wheels standard were slightly different from this, but my gosh, that brings back memories. It was hilarious going in there when I was about 10 or something, I think. Then, older still, again about 10 years older, is this Mini 1000 from 72-73. It's got a lime flower interior. Those front seats are off a 90s Cooper, but the rest of the interior is original spec for a car from the early 70s, including the steering wheel and everything. Those are quite interesting actually. I don't really priced have fallen slightly. I don't know how much that's worth actually. That one looks in pretty good condition in terms of the rust. And then an even older one. This is a 1969 Mark II Morris Cooper S, and it is really rather nice. One of the last of the Mark IIs. You can get them on an H plate because Mr. Richardson Furious Driving has a Mark II on an H plate, but nevertheless quite a late one. Very original looking actually. I think, as far as I know, this is how they came up with the wheels. Might be slightly wider, but apart from that, it looks very sort of original spec, including that sunroof there. Next we've got something rather interesting from 1953. This is actually a Chevy Bel Air. I think it's one of two Bel Airs that are here. They're not both this year, the other one's a different year, but it is just extraordinary. Look at the size of this compared with the Mini next to it. And someone's very kindly left window open so we can have a look at the dash. Oh, it's got the dash mounted contour. In fact, that whole steering column is actually different. The steering wheel has a little stalk on it. That's interesting. Someone's actually modified that. It's not get attacked by the bush viewers. That's probably the best idea. There we go. Not attacked by the bush for once. Now this 1963 Mini, it looks a little bit like a Cooper. I don't know if it is. I would say Austin Cooper normally on the back, I think, if it were, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a modified side-on, which is fine. You see all the sort of hallmarks of the Mark I Minis. We've got the smaller rear lights, you've got the house-style door handles with sliding windows and the exposed door hinges. These are elements which continued all the way through on the Mini pickup until the end of production in 1982. So, the Minis kept changing as you've seen previously, but the pickup stayed the same. We've got the Sunny here today, which I have cleaned. I think it's the first time I've taken it to the show in a little while. We've got Galapagos today. Now he says he's going to be enjoying the lean and green bottle of Vit here, but I don't think turtles actually have that, so he's looking a little bit sort of suspicious there. If I come back and my lunch has vanished, I'll know what's happened to it. I must also take the Panama out, because I don't think I'm going to be wearing that for several months, viewers. Next we've got this Reliance Scimitar SS1, 85-86 registration. I think the rear lights of this are off is it a Mark III Escort? Something like that. That's not the only Ford bit in it either, because the engine is a 1.6 CVH, I think out of an XR3i or something. Or maybe just an XR3. We've got the dash, which is very similar, I think, to something like a Metro. Not exactly the same, but we've got components in there, such as some of the switches and the wiper stalks, I think, are off a Metro. Or a Maestro, I forget now. Fantastic. I'd like to have a go at one of these at some point. Next we've got a late 996 911, 2004. One of the few Porsches I've actually driven. Drove one about 3 years ago in Scotland in the snow. This one is a Carrera 4S, which would be considerably faster than the Carrera 2 that I drove, and a automatic transmission. They're still stupidly fast, but this is even faster. Next we've got something much older, this Ford F100, which has been sort of modified with this sort of matte paint. I'm not going to touch it and feel it, but you can see there the sort of finish is very different. Big V8, of course. Someone's done a very nice job of retrimming the interior. I think it's a manual. We've not got this sort of bed in there, but you can see the chassis and everything there. It's all been done up properly. And some really large wheels. Next we've got another thing that's a bit more modern, a Mark II Audi TT, the Quattro version. I quite like these. I drove one of them quite recently, towards the end of last year, because my friend has one. It's a late one, it's sort of 2013 I think her one is. This is a 2009. It's very mean, doesn't it? It's the S-Line model, probably a 2 litre. And an MGC. That paint is beautiful. That's probably been recently painted, hasn't it? That looks fantastic, doesn't it? Late MGC, they were discontinued in '69. They didn't sell a lot of them actually, only a couple of years they were in production. And then something that I think is, oh my gosh, viewers, I'm going to have to go and lie down after this. Look at this Series 1 Daimler based on Jaguar XJ. Oh my gosh. That is just fabulous. Wow, we've got twin fuel tanks, of course, because they're not very good on petrol, really. These it doesn't matter, though. Yes, a Daimler Sovereign 4.2 litre. Local plate to the area, TR was an old Portsmouth plate. Not very far from Portsmouth, of course. I mean, it'd be better if it had a beige leather interior, but oh my gosh. That is absolutely fantastic. Ooh. Yes, please, viewers. And it's not rusty around the headlamps like most of them were back in the day. It's hard to believe that car is 74 or 70, sorry, 70 or 71. So it's sort of 54, 55 years old. Next you've got something much older, Sunbeam Talbot 90. This will be from the mid-50s. When Sunbeam, I think they were independent until about 1955. They got taken on by the Roots Group. And this is the sort of stuff they were making. It's a lovely colour, isn't it? Next we've got 2 more Bel Airs. Let's have a look at this one first. This is, I think, a 1956. The 3-speed manual. And that looks very nice, but we've got something that is even more classic. It's a 4-door. The 2 doors tend to be the ones that people prefer, but this is a 4-door. And let's have a look at the front. Oh yes, please, viewers. A lovely 1957 Chevy Bel Air. I can't believe that's 3 of them we've got here today. But I have to say, viewers, nice though that 57 Bel Air is, I prefer this. It's a 1993 Rover 214 SLI, and it is in fabulous condition. Normally, you'd see rust maybe at the bottom of the door or here on the arch. This car has got nothing. It's got no rust on it whatsoever, and someone's even fitted parking sensors. The reason I can tell it's a 93 is because in October 1993, they changed the rear lamps and also fitted the grills. Now, grills compared to earlier versions of these, but as standard, they wouldn't have had them until October 93. The 400s got them a year earlier, when the 200s had this very slight modification of the front end where the indicators are a different shape, and that designates that this car's got 103 horsepower as opposed to 95. My gosh, viewers, I'm a boring person. Anyway, we've got this Camaro SS, which looks very nice. 68-69 registration. Now, I'm not so good on these actually. American cars are not my forte, but that does look really rather fabulous. Lots and lots and lots of power as well in there. But as we'll see a bit later, there's lots of other things that have a lot of power around here as well, such as this Bentley here. This looks like the W12 model. The only thing about these is I'm terrified if I were to own one that everything would go wrong, and often these are beyond economical repair when they do go wrong. But that does look very, very nice. Also nice is this Mark III Cortina. Fabulous, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. It's a 2000E. Oh my gosh, viewers. It's automatic as well. Ooh, viewers. And we've got the louvres on the back. Next to it, we've got something I've actually driven. This 1977 Mark IV Cortina 2-litre gear. I drove this in January. I thought Mr. Brisden, who owns this, was supposed to be sorting out the paintwork at some point, but clearly he's not got round to it yet, which is fine, because he's since had a child since I filmed that video, so he's a bit busy at the moment, driving around in this Cortina, which is just brilliant. It just reminds me of the sort of stuff that I used to see when I was growing up in the sort of late 80s, early 90s around. It's still totally fabulous, and it's got a 5-speed gearbox in it now. It makes it easy to drive, so I like it. Next, we've got a 2005 MG TF, very appropriate plate. That must be a very valuable plate, actually. You've got one of the last of a TF, so actually discontinued along with Collapse MG Rover in April 2005. So that is a very appropriate plate, and it's also one of the last special editions as well, the Spark. Although production did restart in 2008 and continued until 2011 under 19 Automotive. Now, one of my favourite cars I see here is this beautiful late XJS. It's about a 1993-94, and of course it has a beige leather interior with wood. I do like a nice beige leather interior, viewers, as you would have seen from the enormous number of parts that we made at the NEC last weekend, 23 in total. And then something else we've had to go in actually is this 1964 Citroen DS19. These are actually, this is a manual one, quite hard to drive. They're not easy at all. Really, you're better off, if you're not a great driver like I am, going for the semi-automatic version. Still, this is in really nice condition. It was imported from South Africa several years ago. It's owned by Jim, whose many cars are around, I think, today. And I quite like it, although I'm not driving it again, I don't think. I don't want to actually damage it. Next, you've got this Fiat 500L. This is one of the later ones where the door opens the conventional way around, which I think was changed in 1965. This one is actually from the early 70s. It's about the same time that the Fiat 126 came into production, which is about 71, 72 on a K. Next, we've got an Isetta. I did see actually a few of these at the NEC show. This one is a 59, I think, from as far as I remember. This has actually been sort of repainted recently, I think, as well. There we go. I'm a little bit terrified about sort of getting in that. I'm not so terrified about this Aston Martin Vantage Volante S. The problem is I have offered it. The gentleman is very kind, but I just can't get insurance for it, so I can't drive it, which is really annoying. I like to drive stuff like this, viewers, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. What I was able to drive last year is this 1997 Jaguar XK8 Coupe. This is actually bought for sensible second-hand classics money, and it's pretty good shape actually for about £5,000. You've got this sort of, it's not quite beige, it's almost there, leather interior with wood. You can actually buy these for quite modest amounts of money, but you don't really want to be paying less than about £4,000 or £5,000 on one of these, because you might be buying yourself some trouble. This one was fabulous though. The only problem I had with it was going on the A27 and having to go slow with speed cameras, because the car did not want to go slow with speed cameras, but managed to rein my right foot in and did not end up in prison. Next we've got a Mark II Escort with Mexico badges, also 600 GT badges. This is going up in value as I'm walking around it, as of course we found out at the NEC auction last weekend. People go crazy for these Mark 1 and Mark 2 Escorts, and I do understand, but the price premium these command these days is absolutely extraordinary. Next we've got something a little bit older, also a Ford, but I think this is an A, isn't it, Model A? I know so it's a T. It's a later Model T than the other one that's here, which we'll have a look at in a second as well. 2 Model Ts at one show, that's not bad, viewers. Also 2 Reliant Scimitars. This is a GTC. 80 to 81 registration. We'll have a look at the information sheet in a minute, which will tell us what engine it's actually got in it. And no, we're not allowed to make the connection that you all want me to about the person who has owned several of these, because that connection is banned on this channel. So we'll have a look in a second at the information sheet at the front. Got the GTE here as well, which is a bit older than this one. So we're looking to see if it's got the S6 or the Cologne engine. This will be, it actually says on here as well. So they did change it around the time that the Capri 2.8 came out in 1981. They also changed the engine in these. I think that is a fabulous looking car with that particular colour scheme. I love the sort of early 80s graphics on the back as well. So this GT has actually got the 3-litre badge on it, so we know it's got the S6 V6 in it. Both of these are manuals, both 4 speeds. You can tuck the spare wheel in there. That's very handy, isn't it? The engine's sort of set back, so you can put that there if you want. That's in actually really nice condition, that GTE. Very nice. And next we've got something else that's made of fiberglass, this 1966 Corvette, with the 5-litre V8 and 327 horsepower, which in 1966 must have seemed like an extraordinary amount of power. Very exotic looking as well. Watch those knockoff wheels, otherwise you get sliced up like the Mustang did in Goldfinger. Next we've got a very nice R129 Mercedes-Benz SL. This is obviously a SL320. It's a facelift one, and of course it has a beige leather interior with wood. I quite like it, viewers. I like this colour as well. That colour's quite nice. And the headlamp wiper action too. There was actually a 190E here earlier on of the same colour. That unfortunately is gone. I shouldn't have gone out to get my cinnamon roll from the Swedish baking studio. I should have actually taken a photograph of it, never mind. I will enjoy my lunch later on if it's not already been snapped up by a hungry turtle. In the meantime, we've got this lovely, that's 88, something like that, this 380 SE. They're actually not that expensive, these. I was surprised when one came up for auction earlier this year at Barron's, which isn't too far from here. And I think it was about £4,000 or £5,000. I can't remember the specification of it. This one might be a bit more expensive, but they're not actually that dear. Next, we've got this extraordinary MGB GT, which has had a lot of modifications. The owner, Jim, who owns the DS and lots of other cars here, he has had this for about 30 years, and it's got a 4.6 V8 in it. It wasn't originally a V8, it was just a standard one. But he's had many, many different engines in this. He's changed all the stuff, it's polybushed, and it is an absolute animal. I drove this last year, and it was not easy. It was not easy at all. Yeah, he's actually, he's had it 37 years. It is just really a little bit too fast for someone like me. I prefer a standard one. I had driven a standard one and it was pretty good actually. Next we've got this Porsche 911. This I think is a US import one. 911 Targa, 6869 on a G. Actually it looks quite good with this slightly faded paint. I quite liked that. And then a 1969 to 70 Ford Cortina 1600E in this beautiful colour. It's got a Burton head on it, so we've got a bit more power than the standard 1.6, and that is in superb condition. It reminds me of the ones that were at the NEC in the Ford Hall. There we've got Jim's Model T, so 2 Model Ts here today. This is a much earlier one. This is a 1915, and I am not driving this, viewers, because it would absolutely terrify me. I have been offered, but we're not going to do that. Mr. Bill from the Fuel Power channel might at some point, but we will not be doing that, viewers. We will be staying safe. Surprised you've not seen any other MGs so far. I don't think we haven't. It's the first one. So a little midget, Mark III midget, round arch, 1971-72. I have driven a 68 midget, which is very similar to this inside, probably the same type 75cc engine. I don't think these have a brake servo, and certainly the standard these wouldn't have come with an automatic gearbox, which makes them a bit tricky to drive. Even getting in them is quite exciting if you are a certain shape. I just about managed to do it on my own, which was not the best, but it was quite good fun. When you drive them though, you're sitting there, your face is almost hitting the windscreen, so it's a bit interesting. Personally, probably I'd prefer to drive one of these. This is a 1966 Sunbeam Tiger with the enormous Ford V8 engine. We saw some of these at the NEC. 302 cubic inch. This one's in really quite nice condition. Problem came when Chrysler started buying up bits of the Roots Group, who owned Sunbeam in the early 60s, or 63, 64. And so when they found out that Roots were buying in Ford engines for these, they kind of said to them, you might want to wind production up relatively quickly, because we don't really want to pay for Ford engines when we've got plenty of V8s of our own. Now something a lot more modern. It's the first time I've actually seen this here. Now there's a beautiful 1992 GSI 2000 that comes here as well, which is a similar colour to this. This is a facelift Mark III Cavalier though. I don't exactly know what year. It's got a standard airbag, so I would assume at least 93, if not later. I do like Mark III Cavaliers very much. I've driven 2 on the channel. Not as fast as this though. This is the Turbo 4x4 model. I think these are a red top. I could be wrong. I'm not so good on that sort of stuff, but my gosh, that looks tasty, viewers. We'd like that very much. Next we've got this MGB. It's just an 80 to 81 registration. Production finished in Abingdon, I think August 1980 it finished. Although the last one of these, as far as I'm aware, was registered in 1985 on the scene. I have actually seen it, which was really weird seeing it. This one a bit more so. I think this is Pageant Blue. Steering wheel's been changed. I personally prefer the original steering wheels of this era of a bumper MGB GT. I also prefer them to just be like this with the bumpers still on them. There is a sort of following for us now. Years ago there wasn't at all, but people are sort of recognising from what we are now. What is this? It's some kind of Austin, I think. But it's been modified extensively to look like something else. Past viewers, I'll go on the other side. I'm going to go in there and have a look. Peking to Paris 2025, excellent. That is a really, really long event. I had a lecture from a chap who'd taken a 66 Mercedes on that, and my gosh, I want to try that. Look at all this equipment that you have in there. Brilliant. Then we've got this another scimitar. Gosh, we've got 3 here today. This is a 71, 72. I think those are the same wheels as an MGB GT, although it might be slightly different. There's some sort of style to them, certainly. Oh yes, approved by Hugh Hefner himself. There we go. I quite like the look of this one actually. I like these wheels on it. But we've saved ourselves a tasty treat for last. Look at this very, very nice Jaguar XJR, which has a Super V8 badge on it. I thought that the Dane was with the Super V8s. But it's very, very nice indeed. I think this is just an X350 rather than an X358. Nevertheless, viewers, we've still got a nice cream leather interior with wood and a J-gate, and it's supercharged, and I kind of want one. It's always best to be left wanting, isn't it? It makes me more excited for what's coming up next. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment below. A lot of you will be seeing this quite a long time after it was recorded, but because we've got, at the time of recording this, about 8 more parts to come out or something like that, we're gonna have to wait. Anyway, we will see you soon for some more incorrect information.